I found out at the funeral, my wife's pre-wedding affair. 10 years. One lie. The night I learned I was a ghost in my own home, everything changed. We're Jack, 35, and Riley, 33, and for most of our marriage we looked like the couple people copy on Pinterest. Little bungalow in Denver, golden doodle named Moose, joint Google Calendar color-coded like a pride flag. We don't fight loud. We meal prep. We touch base on Sundays like adults. If you asked me a month ago, I'd have said our only problem was my snoring and her planned addiction. Then came her brother's funeral. Rooms that smell like lilies and church coffee make people say brave things. Between the slideshow and the eulogy, Riley disappeared to check on catering. I was standing near the coat rack, holding Moose's leash in one hand and a plate of potato salad in the other, when Paige, my sister-in-law, leaned in and dropped a grenade in my ear. You know she slept with her boss the month before your wedding, right? I always thought you knew. I thought I misheard. I laughed, the awful little polite kind. Paige didn't blink. Everyone knew, she added, soft and sorry, like she was finally setting down a heavy box. In the chapel light I could see her mascara rings and the way her mouth shook after she said it. She squeezed my arm once, condolence? Apology? And slipped back into the crowd. Everything tilted. The rest of the service ran like a movie I'd seen once in high school and couldn't follow. Riley cried pretty during Amazing Grace, clutched my hand in that practiced way that says we are united, thank you. Her dad, Dale, stared past everyone like a man looking for a fire exit. Her mom, Candace, air-kissed with rose breath and whispered, "Don't make today about you, sweetheart," before I'd made anything about anything. My parents, Linda and Gary, flanked me like bookends, my mom's hand on my elbow, my dad's jaw doing that set thing he saves for car trouble. Signs from the past began to re-arrive. The work crisis that wrecked our rehearsal dinner. The hotel points that mysteriously spiked on her card that June. The way she'd insisted on a solo bachelorette weekend because I just need quiet before forever. Back then I called it independence. Standing by the guest book, it felt like foreshadowing I'd been too in love to read. When the reception thinned, Riley found me in the hallway by the framed baptism photos. "Hey," she said, doing the brave widow smile. "You okay?" It hit me that I was about to set our life on a different axis in a church my wife grew up in, between a punch bowl and a photo of her in pigtails. "Who's Mark?" I asked. "Her old boss. The one who'd signed her promotion card with a winky face I'd once thought was just corny." Riley blinked once. Twice. Then she laughed like I'd told a bad joke. "Jack," she said, squeezing my forearm, "not today. Paige told me." The laugh died. Something sharp flashed across her face, then slid away under a fresh coat of grief. "She's hysterical," Riley whispered, eyes shining wet. "You're really going to interrogate me at my brother's funeral?" She let a tear fall, cinematic. People glanced over. Candace tightened her grip on a wineglass like she was trying to snap the stem. I heard myself say calmly, "We'll talk tonight." Riley nodded, a single hard, angry dip of her chin. "Fine." Then, softer, the voice she uses to land a client, "I love you. Don't be weird." The slideshow switched to childhood summers at the lake, and in one photo teenage Riley grinned at the camera with the exact same smile she just used on me. For the first time in 10 years I didn't trust that smile. I watched it and felt the floor under our vows give a little, like wood that's taken on water. We got home from the funeral with a Tupperware tower and the kind of silence that sounds like a held breath. Riley kicked off her heels, tossed her black blazer over a chair, and said she needed a shower to wash church off. I fed Moose and did what men in my family do when the floor starts to tilt. I made coffee no one would drink and opened a laptop. We're those shared Apple ID for purchases people. A ghost folder named Wedding lived on our old iCloud. Photos, vendor contracts, a budget sheet. Buried inside was a subfolder called HR. At first I thought human resources docs for her job. Then I saw June_compreview.pdf and travel_im_juning.pdf. June, our engagement month. The reimbursement showed 2 nights at the Archer Hotel, client dinner plus offsite. The dates overlapped Riley's solo bachelorette. A second PDF was a calendar screenshot, a 90-minute block labeled Exit Interview, at 10 p.m. with her boss, Mark. Exit interviews don't happen at night in hotel bars. The iPad chimed with an iCloud hiccup and populated an old iMessage thread from Riley's work phone. Archived, not dead. Contact, M. First texts were harmless, "Proud of you, crushed it," etc. Then the tone slid. A photo of a room service tray with 2 champagne flutes and a note on hotel stationery, Congrats on your promotion, M. A mirror selfie followed. I knew wasn't our mirror. Riley in a white dress I remember from our engagement shoot, lipstick a little smudged, her shoulder bare where a strap had slipped. You could see the fog ring on the glass where someone had just breathed close. Under it, "You make terrible decisions look holy." My hand shook. "I'm not proud." I opened the attached voice memo. His voice first, low and sure, "Doors latched." Then Riley, breathy whisper laughing, "Lock it again." Fabric hush, the soft sound she makes when someone's mouth finds that spot under her jaw and she forgets the world for a second. Not pornographic, worse. Intimate. Familiar. A rhythm I knew by heart in a room that wasn't ours. The next message was the kind that killed me twice. "Delete later." She replied, "After shower." Timestamp, 2:11 a.m. 9 days before our vows. The present crept in too. LinkedIn DMs recent from Mark. "In town Friday. Coffee for closure?" Her reply, 15 minutes. Daylight. And a photo from last month, sent by her coworker Melissa to our group chat after a networking mixer. Riley laughing, a hand pressed lightly to her lower back. You could crop out the face and still know the hand belonged to a man who thought he could. Water shut off. Riley padded into the kitchen in a robe, hair in a towel, funeral mascara mostly defeated. She slid behind me, forehead to my shoulder, that old animal familiarity. "You okay?" she asked, lips ghosting my neck. My body did the treacherous thing where it remembered first. I rotated the laptop. I didn't say a word. She looked at the hotel invoice, the calendar, the champagne note, the mirror fog, the waveform. One heartbeat. Two. The grief face fell off. "Jack," she said, voice dropping into that cool, brazen register she uses when a vendor messes up. "You're actually stalking a dead folder? At my brother's funeral?" "I'm reading our history," I said. "Before the wedding. With your boss." She went for the speed run. Laugh, minimize, pivot. "One night. We were on a break. I was scared. It meant nothing." She pointed at the selfie. "I had lipstick all day. That fog could be anyone's breath." She actually said breath like we were in court arguing steam. "And the memo?" "Inside joke, about closing the door on old mistakes. My dad always says the body tells the truth first." Riley's pupils blew wide before the denial could get out. I clicked the voice memo. Her eyes flinched at her own sound. A long beat. Then, "You are unbelievable," she snapped, yanking the laptop shut. "You picked today to punish me?" Paige is obsessed with drama. She's always hated me. She moved closer, the robe parting, heat rolling off her like a bribe. "Come to bed," she murmured, palms sliding to my hips. "We are okay. We've always been okay. Don't ruin our life over a pre-wedding blip." There it was. Normalizing. Rebranding. A blip with a minibar. I stepped back like the floor was wet. "We're going to talk," I said. "All of it. And then we're going to decide if our life is real or just well-lit." Riley's face hardened. "Fine," she said. "But if you make me say things out loud, you don't get to cry later like you're surprised." Then softer, that dangerous whisper, "I love you." In the reflection of the microwave door, I watched myself nod like a man about to open a trapdoor on purpose. We sat at the kitchen island like it was a tiny courtroom. Me with a legal pad I didn't remember grabbing, Riley in the robe, damp hair, funeral necklace still on. Moose curled under my stool like a witness. "Tell me what happened," I said. "Nothing happened," she shot back, then softened it like a PR email. "Okay, something happened." "What?" "We were paused before the wedding, remember?" "We weren't." I freaked out. I wanted to feel wanted. She said wanted like a coupon code. "Dates?" I said. "Where? How many?" She rolled her eyes so hard I heard it. "You want a spreadsheet about my bad decisions?" Then, with the confidence of a good liar, "One night. Hotel bar." I cried. He kissed me. We stopped. I went home. I slid the calendar screenshot across. Her mouth did the micro twitch. "Okay, 2 nights," she amended, brisk. But it was closure. See. The name says exit interview. She pointed to her own title like she could annotate the past. "The voice memo," I said. Her chin lifted. "Pulled out of context," she said, as if there's a context where your boss locking a door is incidental. "Also, Paige is weaponizing my grief." "And the coffee last month?" 15 minutes, she said. Daylight. People were there. It's normal to be civil with an ex-boss. Whose hand was on your back? She inhaled, then switched masks like a quick change act, anger to melt. "Jack, please." She came around the island, dropped to her knees so fast the stool rattled, palms on my thighs, mascara comet trails reappearing like she'd practiced. I'm sorry. I'm messed up. My brother died, I spiraled, old guilt surfaced. Her head bowed. I don't even know why I did it back then. I was 23 and stupid and, she looked up, big eyes. You are my only. I will do anything. Say it. I'll do it. For a stupid second my hands nearly lifted her. Muscle memory is a liar. I made my voice do the grown-up thing. Okay. Terms if this survives. A written timeline, every contact in every place. No contact with Mark, formal letter. Access to devices. Couples therapy and individual therapy. STD panels. Separate finances until trust is rebuilt. And you tell your parents and mine why we're here? No spin. The brazen came back like a storm returning. You're policing me, she snapped, rising. You don't get to rewrite our marriage because Paige wants chaos. Riley, I said steady, I didn't cheat on our vows before we made them. She laughed, mean bright. You think you're a saint? You work late, you snore, you get boring about budgets. Mark made me feel alive. The word alive hit like a slap. I thought about all the nights I cooked and the weekends I planned hikes she canceled for work stress, while, alive, was a hotel amenity. Her phone buzzed face down on the island. Muscle reflex, she slapped it still. Too slow. I saw him. Preview, you good? You buy it? She lunged for the phone. I caught her wrist without squeezing, and with my other hand I typed one line and hit send. It's Jack. No. Her fury blew out. The begging version rushed back in like a tide. She slid to her knees again, fingers digging into my jeans. Please. I'll block him. I'll change my number. I'll quit. Tears slicked her chin. Don't burn us down over a ghost. Ghosts don't text, I said. I stood, stepped around her and opened the junk drawer. Out came the envelope I keep for taxes. I labeled it in thick marker, sunlight. I printed the hotel folio, the DM, the memo. I slid them in. Not screaming. Paper. Where are you going? She asked, voice small and sharp at once. To sleep at Marco's, I said. To breathe where the walls don't lie. Riley's last play of the night was quiet. If you leave, she whispered, it's over? It was over, I said, when alive meant me dead inside. I leashed Moose. At the door she said, I love you, like a password. I paused just long enough to realize it used to open everything. Then I stepped into the hallway with a dog, an envelope, and a life I wasn't sure belonged to me yet. Marco's couch creaked like an old ship and smelled like takeout and bachelor detergent, which is to say, safety. I texted my mom a vague staying with Marco, and she replied, come by for breakfast. Bring Moose. Dad sent a thumbs up and 20 seconds later, proud of you for leaving before yelling. I didn't feel proud. I felt hollow with a pulse. The first night I tried to practice forgiveness like scales. I wrote Riley's name at the top of a legal pad and listed reasons to stay. History, vows, the way she steals my hoodies and leaves them warmer than dryers can. Then I wrote reasons to go, hotel stationery, you good? He buy it? The part of me that went quiet to keep us peaceful. The go column 1, but I still found myself scrolling our wedding album until the battery died. Morning came with the kind of strength that looks suspiciously like denial. I texted Riley terms again. Timeline by Sunday, therapy by Wednesday, no contact starting now. She responded like a casino machine. Absolutely. Book. Blocking number as we speak. Then love bombed, DoorDash pancakes to Marco's, a playlist called Alive, Us. A selfie of her in my college tee, chin down, eyes up, your girl. My stomach flipped, my hands shook, my brain whispered propaganda. I went to my parents. Mom pushed eggs, said little, then put a folder on the table labeled boring things, bank forms, credit freezes, copies of our lease. Grief makes people theatrical, she said. Protect yourself in prose. Dad added, sunlight beats shouting, and slid over a spare flash drive. My family does love like office supplies. Candace's version of love was a voicemail at 10 a.m. Riley told me you're punishing her for ancient history. Real men forgive at funerals. In the background, a clink of ice and Ron, her fiancé of the year, yelling something about golf. 5 minutes later, Dale texted, I don't know the details. If you need help moving, say when. That was the first crack of something real on their side. By afternoon, Riley delivered a timeline, 3 bullet points and a paragraph about being 23 and terrified. Dates shaved thin as deli meat. When I asked about the second hotel night, she said, I honestly don't remember. Then 2 beats later, it was just kissing. The voice memo's ghost throbbed in my ear. I scheduled STD panels anyway. She insisted we go together like that made it romantic. At 3 p.m. the panic attack hit in the cereal aisle. A hotel brand logo on a box promo stung my eyes. My chest decided to be a fist. I crouched by the frosted flakes and counted tile grout until a kid asked if I was playing a game. Kind of, I said. On Marco's porch I breathed cold air until it wasn't a weapon. That night Riley showed up at Marco's with wet cheeks and the keys I didn't ask for. "Let me in," she texted then. "I'm on my knees." She wasn't lying. Through the peephole I saw her folded on the welcome mat, mascara comets, palms up like offering. "I'll quit," she said when I cracked the door. "I'll change my number. I'll go no contact with my mother. I'll let you track me. I'll be brand new." Muscle memory twitched. Then a new memory stood up straighter. The envelope labeled Sunlight and how my name looked steadier when I wrote it in my own hand. "Get a real timeline," I said. "Send the letter to Mark. Book therapy and actually go. Then we talk." She nodded hard, then tried to slide past me on the last syllable, her shoulder warm, breath peppery with the perfume I used to buy. I blocked the frame with my foot. She blinked, recalibrated, and smiled that furious, brazen smile. "You'll never find better," she said like a curse. I closed the door gently and heard her whisper through it, small and sharp, "You're boring." Marco handed me a beer and the TV remote. "She doesn't know boring is heaven," he said, and Moose thumped his tail like an amen. Measured revenge looks like paperwork. I forwarded the Archer receipts and the exit interview screenshots to a new folder called Sunlight in my private email, then sent a short, neutral note to Mark's spouse, found via a PDA directory page, "Because the internet is a nosy neighbor, you don't know me. You should see these dates." No adjectives. No threats. Just light. Next, separate finances. Mom slid a checklist across her kitchen island like a nurse with discharge papers. New checking, password audit, freeze on the emergency card Riley kept in her glove box. While I clicked, Dad texted a locksmith he swears by, "For my heart, not the house." The skeleton started volunteering. My best man, Nate, called with guilt puking through the speaker. "She asked me to run interference that weekend," he said. "Said she had cold feet. I thought it was jitters. I didn't know there was a room key." He cried. I let him. After we hung up, Melissa, coworker, DM'd me, "I'm sorry. HR wouldn't touch it then. She wasn't my boss, he was." She sent a group photo cropped wider than Instagram allowed. There was the hand again on Riley's back, the caption "Work fam sparkles suddenly feral." Candace called to redecorate history. "Baby, everyone has a wild engagement," she said. "You lock it in the vault and move on." In the background, Ron asked where the good bourbon was. Dale texted 2 minutes later, "If you need me to haul boxes, I have a truck." That was the first time I believed he saw me, not just the role. Riley whiplashed between brazen and penitent. Morning, "You're abusing me with admin." Afternoon, kneeling on our porch, palms up, whispering, "I will call him right now and end it in front of you." Night, "Why are you obsessed with high school era history?" We were 20-something. She sent a timeline V2 with fresh edits. Now it was 3 times but soul dead. She attached a selfie in my hoodie caption "Doing the work." I added it to Sunlight under PR. Page, the same page who lit the first fuse, texted a pin drop. A storage unit Riley opened the week after her promotion, paid with our joint card that year. Marco drove. I brought a combination of dread and bolt cutters. Inside, a banker's box labeled keepsakes that were not ours, hotel key sleeves, a men's tie, a champagne cork taped to a note in Riley's handwriting, "For bravery." The worst was a spiral notebook titled "Rules to Feel Alive." Half was nouns, elevators, mezcal, rain, half initials. M appeared like a refrain. My stomach did the elevator drop. We sat cross-legged on the concrete while I photographed everything. Marco said nothing for a long time, then, "You don't have to keep souvenirs to keep lessons." I put the tie back and left with pictures, not trophies. At the repast 2.0, Candace insisted on a celebration of life extended cut. A cousin in a too-tight suit clapped me on the shoulder and joked, "Riley was wild back then, huh?" I didn't perform. I said level, that wild, included her boss. I found out at the funeral, and watched the room do that slow bloom quiet where everyone realizes the soundtrack was a lie. Candace hissed, "How dare you," like I'd scuffed her foyer. Dale looked like he'd swallowed a nail. I sent HR a bland FYI about historical supervisor misconduct with dates, no commentary, then drafted my own terms into a document titled "If We Stay." Disclosure, therapy, no contact, financial restitution. She'd used our early savings to bridge a secret bridal loan. found in her email under miscellaneous expenses, and a family disclosure Zoom so the rumor mill couldn't churn secrets into myths. Riley read it and said, "You sound like a lawyer, not a husband." I said, "Husbands don't need contracts until they do." That night she showed up again, rain in her hair, mascara comets back on duty. She knelt on the living room rug, third time in 2 days, and pressed her forehead to my knee. "I will be better," she whispered. "I will be new." Behind her, the wedding photo on the mantel stared like a witness I wanted to cross-examine. I lifted her chin, not to kiss, just to make sure she could see my mouth shape it. "I believe you're sorry. I don't believe I'm safe." Her eyes went hard around the tears. "You'll never find better," she said. "You'll never find quiet," I answered, and the word landed in my own chest like a flag I might learn to carry. Candace demanded a family summit, like she was casting a reunion special. We met at her place, charcuterie shaped like a heart, prosecco and flutes, a candle called Renewal, that smelled like citrus and denial. My parents came quiet. Dale hovered by the patio door like fresh air might tell him what to do. Paige sat beside me, hands in fists. Riley opened with theater. "I made mistakes," she said, voice trembling on the correct syllables. "But dredging up a pre-wedding blip at my brother's funeral is cruel. We're grieving." She reached for my hand, I kept it on my lap. I set a folder on the table. Archer receipts, the exit interview calendar, the voice memo timestamps, the storage unit photos labeled rules to feel alive. Candace inhaled like I'd set gasoline down. Dale leaned in, jaw working. Riley tried the speed run. One night. I slid the second hotel invoice. "Okay, 2. I tapped the memo waveform. We kissed. I didn't speak. She exhaled. "Fine. 3 for whatever number makes you feel better." It was before the vows. She delivered it like a plea disguised as arithmetic. "And last month's closure coffee?" I asked. Her eyes flicked. 15 minutes. Daylight. "Whose hand was on your back?" The grief mask slipped. "You don't own my spine," she snapped. Then, softer, pivoting, she stood, came around the island, and dropped to her knees for the room like a penitent. "Please, Jack," she whispered, palms up, mascara comets perfect. "I will write the timeline. I'll quit. I'll block. I'll tell everyone. I'll let you watch me change." She pressed her forehead to my thigh. The room held its breath. My mother's hand found my shoulder. Paige looked away like privacy was a kindness even here. Dale cleared his throat. "Riley, answer straight. Did your boss help your promotion?" A beat. Riley's chin tilted, not a nod, not a no, an admission shaped like arrogance. Candace clapped once, brittle. "Who cares? She's brilliant with or without him. We don't sabotage family." "Saying what happened isn't sabotage," my dad said, calm steel. "It's stopping the leak." Candace pivoted to me. "Real men forgive at funerals." My mother smiled without mirth. "Real men don't marry spin." Then Paige, God bless her, pulled a photo from her tote and slid it to the middle. Candace at 20, laughing on a dock, an arm around her waist that wasn't Dale. "She learned it somewhere," Paige said, voice thin. The room thudded. Dale stared at the photo like it had a heartbeat. Candace's jaw set. "The past is not relevant," she hissed. "What's relevant is your marriage." "What's relevant," I said, steady, "is I've been living under a story that makes me small." I placed a single page on top. "If we stay. Disclosure. No contact. Therapy. Financial restitution. Family truth, not PR." Riley skimmed, scoffed, then laughed, mean and bright. "You sound like a compliance department," she said. "You're boring, Jack." For once it didn't land. Boring felt like a hammock. I stood because my legs finally belonged to me. "Here's what I'm doing," I said. "Separate finances already done. STD panels this week. A lawyer consultation tomorrow. I'm leaving the house tonight. Moose rotates on a schedule. You can have the lease through the term. If you want to meet the terms and see if there's a marriage under this rubble, we'll talk. If you want to keep spinning, spin without me." Riley's eyes flashed, then, like a storm losing interest, went flat. "You'll never find better," she murmured, the curse again. Dale surprised me. He put his hand on my shoulder, old, callous, steady. "You'll find quiet," he said. Candace hissed something about reputation. My mom slid her a one-word answer: consequences. Paige squeezed my wrist 3 times, here, here, here. I left with Moose, the Sunlight folder, and a clean list in my pocket. Call Tess, lawyer. Book labs, find a month-to-month above a coffee shop or a lake, buy a plant I won't kill. On the porch, Riley followed, eyes bright with fury and salt. Say you love me, she demanded like a password only I could give. I looked at her, the woman I'd promised forever to, the girl who'd stored a tie in a box labeled alive, and told the truest sentence I had, I love myself enough to go. The door clicked behind me. It sounded like an edge turning into a path. Tess, lawyer, had the kind of calm that made you believe in paperwork. You don't have to decide divorce today, she said, sliding me a legal pad. But we gather now. She listed verbs: document, disclose, detach. I handed her the Sunlight folder. She nodded like a surgeon checking vitals. We'll notify HR about historic supervisor misconduct. Keep it neutral, dates, relationships of authority, nothing extra. Also, labs, separate accounts, and a month-to-month. She said it like a recipe, I wrote it like scripture. I found a studio over a coffee shop that smelled like espresso and wet wood. Moose learned the stairwell faster than I did. Mom showed up with a duvet and a plant I couldn't kill. Dad hung a cheap curtain rod and said, boring is sturdy. I believed him for 5 whole minutes. The email to HR was 3 lines long, bulletproof, bland. 5 hours later, a reply pinged. Thank you for the information. We'll review. Sunlight doesn't roar, it hums. 2 days after that, a text from a number I didn't know. Hi. I'm Hannah, Mark's wife. The steadiness in her voice hurt. We traded receipts like survivors comparing maps. She said, he told me it was ancient history, and I was punitive for caring. I said, mine called it a blip. We were strangers in the same room. Riley pivoted to crisis PR. Morning, brazen, your email to HR was abusive. Noon, begging, at my door on her knees on the landing, hands open. I'll quit, she whispered. I'll delete everyone. I'll move states. I'll be monitored. I'll be brand new. Night rage, you're boring. You'll never find better. I started to hear the curse as a weather report about her, not me. Candace deployed theatrics. A group text, family dinner. No lawyers. We fix this. Mom replied, counsel present or we decline. Dale sent me a separate message. Do what keeps you alive. It was the closest he'd come to saying I wasn't crazy. HR's quiet machine kept grinding. Hannah texted a screenshot. Mark put on administrative leave. Riley wrote me a novella called My Truth, a confession with footnotes that blamed youth, grief, and my spreadsheets. 3 paragraphs in, she asked for help covering the power bill because compassion. I forwarded it to Sunlight and paid our half, not hers. At Tessa's nudge, I picked a hobby that had nothing to do with rebuilding anyone. Climbing. The bouldering gym was chalk and laughter and problem sets you solve with hands, not apologies. A teen taught me how to trust my feet. Don't yank, she said. Shift your weight. My brain filed it under life. Hannah and I set a boundary, logistics only. Still, one night she sent a single line that stuck. Thank you for not screaming. I sat on my mattress on the floor and cried at how unromantic the right thing is. Twist I didn't plan. A neighbor knocked with a box from our old porch, Riley's storage unit overflow. Inside, a Polaroid I hadn't seen, Riley and Mark on a balcony, his hand on the point below her ear. The same spot I used to think I'd discovered. I didn't smash it. I slid it into Sunlight and felt the clean weight of choosing not to bleed anymore. Riley tried one door the lawyers didn't lock. My guilt. She showed up barefoot in a storm, hair-soaked, mascara comets, and knelt on the hallway runner so hard I hurt her knees. You're the best person I know, she said, voice shaking. Don't leave me with my mother. For a heartbeat I almost bent. Then I pictured the banker's box labeled alive and the girl who curated chaos like a personality. I won't be the rope, I said and closed the door gently. Inside, Moose thumped his tail. The coffee shop hissed milk through the floor. I opened the window and the wind moved the cheap curtains like a benediction. For the first time since Lily's and church coffee, I felt the air change in my favor, small, boring, and exactly enough. HR doesn't send fireworks, they send calendar invites. Follow up on reported supervisor misconduct, read the subject line. 2 days later Hannah texted, he's out. Resigned to pursue opportunities. Sunlight had done its slow, quiet work. Riley's reply to me was pure theater, you ruined a man's career. I typed, deleted, then sent the only sentence that didn't taste like chalk. He chose that room before our vows. Candace tried to build a stage over the crater. She group texted a Canva graphic, doves, serif font, announcing a forgiveness dinner with assigned seats and a dress code, elevated neutral. Mom replied, lawyers or no show. Paige texted me separately, bring your folder. And maybe a helmet. Dale sent, I'll keep it civil. Which is Dale, for I brought my quiet spine. Before the dinner I did 3 boring, pointed things. 1. Return the heirloom crystal bowl Candace lent us for the wedding with a post. Thank you. Returning what isn't mine. 2. Close the old joint card Riley used for emergencies, which accounting later revealed covered Archer room service and a bridal loan repayment from our early savings. 3. Boxed the storage unit trophies, tie, cork, key sleeves, and sharpened the lid alive, archive. I didn't keep a souvenir of pain. Photos and sunlight were enough. The dinner was candlelight and denial. Riley came down in white, mascara due on cue, fingers brushing my sleeve like a habit she wanted back. I'm choosing us, she announced like a bachelorette finale speech. I'll quit, I'll block, I'll move states, I'll let you check my phone forever. She glanced toward Candace, who nodded like a director at opening night. I laid out my boring instruments, the If We Stay page updated, the secret bridal loan ledger, HRs, we have concluded our review email, and new, an email thread page had unearthed from Riley's college account titled Dock Days. Attached, a photo of Candace at 20 on the lake dock, laughing with Cliff, the neighbor Dale hates, his hand at the exact point under her ear where Mark's had rested in that balcony Polaroid. Paige's voice was low. We learned to perform forgiveness here before we learn truth. Something in Dale's face unclenched and then hardened. Candace hissed, the past is not a participant, but her eyes went glassy in the way of people cornered by their own mirrors. Riley tried the knees again, on the hardwood, palms up, mascara comets, promises like confetti. Jack, please. I will be new. Don't let me become my mother. It landed heavy because it was honest and manipulative at the same time. I didn't raise my voice. I put the heirloom bowl on Candace's sideboard and said, I'm done carrying your family's version of love. Then to Riley, I believe you can change. I don't believe I should be your practice field. Candace pivoted to spite. You'll never find better, she said for Riley like a cue line. He's boring, Riley echoed, softer, eyes daring me to flinch. I felt the words hit like rain on a good coat. Boring had weight now. Boring held. 2 hours later, Dale walked me to the curb and without looking at me said, I should have left the dock years ago. It wasn't an apology. It was a map. Back at the studio, there was a padded envelope from the funeral attorney, a note about Riley's brother's small estate. Tucked inside, a signed IOU from Riley, 2 weeks before our wedding, for bridge money till promotion clears. The amount matched the Archer folio plus incidentals. I sat on the bed and let the ceiling be sky. Each lie had receipts. Each truth had a price. I booked a long weekend in Moab, cheap cabin, Red Rock, a beginner's crack climbing clinic where you learn to jam hands in stone and trust friction. I wasn't running. I was changing altitude. On the way to sleep, moose sighed the way dogs do when a storm finally moves off. For the first time since lilies and bad coffee, I felt the weather break for good. Moab was the color of a scraped knee at sunset. I learned to jam my hands into sandstone and trust friction. Turns out that's a therapy modality. The instructor yelled, lean into the rock, it holds if you do, and my dumb brain wrote it down like scripture. In the cabin at night, I didn't check sunlight. I watched a moth beat itself silly against a lantern and thought, don't be that. Back home, consequences had finished their slow circuit. HR emailed, investigation closed, policy changes incoming. Hannah sent one line, he moved out. No confetti, just the quiet thud of a door. Riley texted, you killed his career. I wrote back, he made his choices before our vows. Then I muted the thread and walked moose in air that didn't taste like old arguments. Candace tried a finale. She posted a sepia notes app owning my truth thing, we are all imperfect, comments limited to 2 ants and Ron. Paige texted me a screenshot and the words, performing for the Mirror. Dale, uncharacteristically, sent me a photo of a cut dock rope. No caption. The man speaks fluent metaphor when he's done being quiet. Then the last avalanche. Tess pinged me at 7 a.m. Check your email. Don't sign anything. Sitting in my inbox like a snake, an e-signed doc labeled, Mutual Reconciliation Plan, already bearing a forged version of my signature. Metadata said Candace's iPad. I forwarded it to Tess. She filed an urgent motion and a stern letter that read like a thunderclap. 10 minutes later, Candace called me coward from a different number. Mom texted her a single period from her phone. Family punctuation is a weapon if you know how to wield it. Riley showed up at my stairs barefoot, mascara comets, tote bag thudding with framed photos. I picked you, she said, and then she was on her knees on concrete, palms up, begging like the stairs were an altar. I'll delete. I'll quit. I'll move states. I'll let you track me forever. I'll be brand new. My pulse remembered her. My bones remembered Moab. You can't be brand new by Thursday, I said. And I can't be brand new at all. She closed her eyes like a door. You'll never find better, she whispered, the curse she saves for men who stop orbiting. Tess filed the separation at 9:03 a.m. At 9:17 my phone lit up like a slot machine. Candace, history will absolve. Riley, you're punishing infertility we never had. Hannah, thank you for not making it a spectacle. Dale, if you need me in court I'll be there. Paige just sent 3 squeezes emoji. Here. I did the boring holy things. Returned the last of the heirlooms, shut down the joint streaming she'd been sharing with work fam, moved the dog schedule to a co-parenting app, yes for Moose, and dropped a key at Dale's with a note. For emergencies, not entrances. Then I went to climb and watched my hands trust the wall. Riley tried one door the paperwork didn't lock. Rumor? A few mutuals pinged me with she says you're controlling. I sent no paragraphs, just a one-liner, we're separating due to infidelity. Please give us space. Sunlight, not arson. It's shocking how fast gossip evaporates when you don't feed it oxygen. That night I took Moose to the lake. The dock boards didn't creak the same. Maybe Dale really did cut a rope. Under the gray sky, I practiced saying the sentence out loud. I'm leaving a marriage that ended before it started. It sounded less like failure and more like finally telling time. Moose lay down with his head on my sneaker like a notarized signature. When I got back, the studio smelled like espresso and the basil plant Mom swears I can't kill. I booked a cheap coastal trip, a sailing fundamentals weekend I'd been too married to myself as savior to want. Tess emailed, temporary orders granted, forged signature flagged, no contact outside counsel. I watered the basil, fed Moose, and sat with the quiet until it felt like a room I owned. For the first time since Lily's and church coffee, the silence didn't echo. Held. Court wasn't cinematic. 12 minutes, fluorescent mercy. Tess spoke 5 sentences, the judge stamped 2 forms, and my marriage made a noise like a door that finally fits its frame. Outside, Mom handed me a granola bar, our family's love language. Dad clapped my shoulder once, exact torque to close a toolbox, and Tess said, go live. Not move on. What? I took the cheap coastal trip. Sailing basics, water cold enough to make your teeth talk. The instructor yelled, ease to power, and something in my chest obeyed. You don't yank a sail to go faster, you let the wind fill what you've already raised. Nights were fish tacos and sleep like a dropped anchor. Back home, the studio over the coffee shop smelled like espresso and basil and not like waiting anymore. Consequences kept landing without confetti. HR announced policy changes. Hannah texted a photo of a porch without Mark's shoes. Dale sent a picture of a coiled rope, cut clean. Candace tried one last broadcast, sepia quote about becoming, then a Venmo request for half the forgiveness dinner. I hit decline and watered the plant Mom swore I couldn't kill. It lived. So did I. Riley's final volley was a voice memo, whisper soft, perfect tremble. You'll miss me. I didn't reply. Paige sent lemon bars and a sticky note. You don't have to be interesting. Just be okay. Marco dragged me back to the bouldering gym. I topped a problem I'd been failing for weeks and laughed out loud like an idiot. On Sundays I'd take Moose to the lake and let him judge paddle boarders. Boring turned out to be a hammock. I'm not going to pretend I don't still wake up sometimes reaching for the warm dent that isn't there. Grief jogs laps. But the laps got shorter and the track stopped being my whole address. I built a coffee table in a beginner's woodworking class that doesn't wobble, sold it to a couple who kept calling each other babe, like a dare, and spent the money on a used sale bag. Small trade, big math. If you're reading this on r/relationship_advice with lilies in your nose and church coffee on your tongue, here's my map. Sunlight, arson. Facts, dates, witnesses. Quiet wins last. Don't let open-minded retroactively legalize betrayal. Separate money the day your gut says leak. Forgiveness without change is anesthesia. It wears off. Pick a hobby with friction, clay, rock, wind, something that answers you back. Last night the city silvered itself after rain. I stood at my window with coffee, watched the cheap curtain billow, and realized the quiet didn't echo. It held. I locked my door, my lock, my key, and the click was soft as a promise. Then I pointed the boat of my life where I want to go, and the sail filled and I moved. I have many other stories. Go to my channel, subscribe so you don't lose us. Give me a thumbs up.